I found we have the equivalent of 3 selves. At least that's what which is base. So they say base below, which is your biological desires and impulses. So my desire right now, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I feel for a donut, or I want some water, or I need to pee, I need to take a shit, like, okay, good. And so that aspect of a man is trying to dominate his focus, right? And then there's the second man, who's I call the social self, which is who am I, what's my identity within my circle. So let's say I'm in class, and my identity within that particular setting is student. So I don't get up in front of everybody and start talking over the teacher, right? Everybody would look at you strangely because it's like, what's wrong with this guy? Because it's understood you're not the teacher.
Your role is predefined.
Right. And so when you go outside that, there's like a offness and negative emotion that you may feel, whether it be from people going like, get the fuck off the stage, dude. And they're getting that rejection. You're like, oh, that hurts, which is what kind of keeps us in line in that term, right? We don't like being ostracized. So that keeps us. So that self focuses on social acceptance, whether we believe it or we think we're so immune to people think, really, right? Get cut off from everywhere ever and see how quickly you align yourself, right? So there's always a balance between like the base man, which is just the animal self, the social man, which also involves your self-image, right? So it's not just who do I want people to think I am, it's also who do I actually think I am. Right. I want people to view me as confident, or I want people to view me as charismatic, or I want people to view me as funny. Whether you're actually those things will depend on how people react. Exactly. I may think I'm the funniest guy ever and nobody ever laughs when I talk. So it's like, that's delusion, right? And so I need people to laugh to confirm my self-image, And so the third one is I have yet to get a real definitive term, but I just call it the spirit, or the spiritual man, which is the version of you that has the mission in life and high aspirations and goals.
Okay. Ain't got time for no bitches. Ain't got no time for no bitches.
Right, like that.
Right.
That version, right? And so these 3 are always within all the time. You're always base. I want some pussy. I want some
immediate gratification.
Where the hoes at? Like that first level.
Right. Some men that dominates them predominantly. You can tell which ones, are. You can tell this is a base dude. Impulse. Right now, give me the weed, give me the drugs, give me the pussy. Anything for carnal pleasure. For pleasure. This is a pleasure man. Social man is anything to make me remain liked and accepted. So this is the socially driven man. You can tell.
I want to look good no matter what.
So the pastor, like, people would fall into this category. Anything that makes other people believe I'm a particular type of person, right? Regardless of what's going on,
whether it's real or not. But as long as people believe
that's their core motivation and drive. And then you have the spiritual man, which is like these to an extreme sense would be like, oh, what is pussy, man? Is it really this? Like, from my understanding now, going back to the framing and the internal, because of that, it's like, okay, in every moment, all of them are trying to, I know I'm supposed to be going after my purpose, but I want to fuck this chick over here that's trying to, but I don't want my church brothers to know that I'm sinning, and or I have a social role of husband, father, but I don't really want to fuck this stripper, but I'm supposed to be a man of integrity, and it's like all of them are conflicting. And what I found seems to be a North Star, and why mission, purpose, and those things seem to matter so much is, from a masculine standpoint, it seems where masculine is growth, expansion, pushing the boundaries, discomfort. And it's impossible to grow without discomfort, because comfort by definition is remaining in the same vicinity, right? So the opposite would be pushing the boundaries. If you think about what men have traditionally done, it's always trying to expand their territory, right? Which requires pushing up against unknown territory. and trying to take it over and take it like expansion. It seems like men are mission driven by design. Like masculine is always seeking to conquer new terrain. And if you look at what your purpose or mission is, it's by definition trying to go where you've never been and conquering it. Whether it be, well, I want to see this change in the world. You want to see change because the change isn't there yet. So you think you're as the man in your leadership, I'm going to change, I'm going to conquer what's currently here and make it into how I think would be better. Right? And so that mission seems to be what determines, am I going to react, respond, right? Like, am I going to do base of it all here? Am I going to do social? Am I going to, or how do I balance all of them? It's like, how does this align with my mission in this moment? And so that's the North Star I found seems to be like the one. It's like, okay, because you need all three, like all of them are required. But if you live too much in spiritual and you have no social alliances, you can't make the moves, whether politically, you don't have the social skills, you don't shower, nobody wants to be around you, or you're just too impulsive to where there's none of the other things, you don't know how to navigate, you're trying to fuck your friend's wife, like it's too, because she has a fat ass, I don't care about the social bonds. And if you're too conforming, then you'll never push the boundaries enough because you're too worried about whether or not those kinds are a lot to do things in the dark and then hide it in public, because it's like all that matters is how people perceive me. So I don't give a damn if I'm carnal in the background, as long as people think I'm this way, then right. And so that's my understanding. It's all about what his core mission is, and if he doesn't have any, we have the epidemic we have now of just usually the base man. Yeah, usually like the base desires dominate.
Because we have the free will as humans. It's like a wild card to it. So I actually view it more aligned with technology. Computer programming. Like whatever, we have the free will to actively choose, like the Matrix. I want to load up, this is the program, billionaire. This is the program, Playboy. This is the program, fitness, whatever. Whatever we're taking on in life, we can make that our mission. And there are the big ones that consume you, and then there's just I'm going to speak Spanish. I'm going to go biking, whatever. But yeah, that's interesting. And like it's an overall conversation, because to that you've got the big, well, no, you're a genius as to what you've been sharing, the 3 pivot. I've never considered a context or the levels, base, the high, and the social. And it's so funny to stand in that and look where it is pulled, and there's, like you're saying, the different degrees that it is never not being pulled at, whether you shower, that's the social contact. Why? And it's so funny because even looking at the base, it explains so much. Coin term that came to mind, Elliot Hulse, I heard degenerate, where I actually got degenerate. This is a generation of degenerates, he said. And I don't agree with a lot of conversations he's having.
There's some out there stuff.
He's got some wisdom inside of things, where he had me look at that word. And I heard it as the perfect status as far as to what you're saying. The base layer is the only thing being taken care of, and there's a little bit more. And what's that little bit more? I can look over in that social realm to see, have to shower, have to provide, like the base of what I need to do to be accepted, act like a man to some regard, work a job, pay for myself, live by myself, be able to get a woman. Like beyond those contexts, just dancing in the base level, you can bounce between those two at any given point. And this higher needs, like that's not even something that's still looked at like entrepreneurship. And even entrepreneurship, if you don't have a mission, which is usually unlikely, if there's no context of exchanging value and you don't have a mission, that's still not it. But purely having a purpose, which goes beyond, once you have abundance of finance and all that, it's purely the thrive of what you want to change, impact, create out in the world, your mission.
I didn't clarify what exactly the mission is, but the way I define it is some aim or outcome that you pursue that either increases, pleasure is not the word, increases the positive emotions of people you care about or humanity, or decreases their suffering. So it's something that is not self-serving, which is the balance Right? It's like, okay, well, I'd like to just do this thing right now, but this thing, and the reason, because like when the question is why do people have those things? What I've observed is that there's two types of positive emotion. There's pleasure or comfort, and then there's fulfillment. Pleasure comes from consumption, but fulfillment only comes from production. And if you cut the production part off, which is the point of a purpose, right? You're producing, you're pushing yourself for other people. When you over-index too much on consumption, you have a life that's you lack fulfillment. And it only comes from serving other people or bettering their lives in some capacity, or, you know, whether you're a musician, you could argue it's reducing suffering or bringing joy. You know, you're a doctor, reducing suffering, bringing joy. I make the distinction just because it's not exactly the same, but it's kind of. But once you have that thing that's beyond you, sometimes a dude has a daughter and his whole life changes because now that North Star has been forced into his life. Before, he would just be base. And now, boom.
His purpose is his children.
Right.
Oh, nice. That is, yeah.
And that happens
whole
a lot.
shit lines up. They come into the picture. Or it's like, dang, I need to man
Your
up.
kids become your purpose. And everything you do moves around that. I can definitely attest to that.
So that's the clarification I wanted to make. Because I do agree with the code thing. The code to me is subservient to, let's say, your kids. It's not like my code goes above my you know what I mean? It's like I'm making the code because of this thing that is greater than me.